So people are very concerned that the Pyro Archon may not function without Natlan characters, and I think that is an absolutely valid concern due to them basically saying you need Natlan characters to actually trigger the, thing. So let's talk about it. It is a valid concern to maybe be like, oh, I skipped literally every single 5-star in the entire patches because I was saving for a Pyro Archon. It's completely valid. I mean, it's hard to say like, oh, you should have known to summon for, Shilonen. Although I will say you should have, summoned for Shilonen, right? If you got Shilonen, you're looking good. However, if you didn't get Shilonen, you didn't get Kanech, you didn't get Mulani, and you didn't get Chaska, well, then you're out of luck. I'm sorry to tell you. Because it looks like these 5-star premium characters, especially supports, are going to make the Pyro Archon up to her fullest potential. Now, we do have one singular free-to-play option, chat. We do have one singular free-to-play option, which is Kachina, who has 60 Nightsoul point limit and can use the Cinder City set. That's all she has. That is it. There is no more. It's legitimately, that's it. She has Cinder City, 60 Nightsoul points. You compare that to a character like Shilonen, who is probably going to be 10 times better for the Pyro Archon than Kazuha, right? You have 36% Res Shred, Cinder City, and you have 90 Nightsoul points. It's hard for me to recommend summoning for the Pyro Archon if you don't have any Natlan characters, because it's like you're missing a lot of her damage if you don't summon for Natlan characters. I will be making videos on her without Natlan characters, or we'll see how well she goes. But as of right now, I think it's a completely valid concern to be like, well, I skipped all these characters now, and I was saving the Pyro Archon. How am I gonna go? Like, what am I gonna be able to do? Like, am I bricked? You probably are. I'm gonna be honest. I think you're probably stuck at a wall at this point, and people who were saving for the Pyro Archon are not even gonna be able to summon for her, knowing that they have a good character in their party, because it's like if it would be like if Raiden came out but only Inazuma characters were able to trigger her energy mechanic here. That is what I'm assuming this is gonna be. I'm gonna be honest. That is what I'm assuming this is. I think that's probably gonna be true. I'm gonna be honest. That's what I'm assuming this thing is gonna function like. I think it's definitely something that is an issue for people. But let's be real. If you have skipped every single 5-star, you have a decent chance at getting Seat Lolly. I think if you are a person who really wants the Pyro Archon, you have 200 summons, let's say, you get the Pyro Archon, summon for Seat Lolly, because you may have a DPS that literally you'll have to use Kachina in order to help do anything with. I'm gonna be honest. You would have to have Kachina on the team. Kachina can still be used on the team. I mean, I don't know. Seat Lolly probably is gonna be using the other set, the 40% Cinder set, right? It'll be interesting to see what Seat Lolly runs on. I imagine Shilonen is also going to be on Mavuika's team. So it's very interesting to see how this is going to run, how it's going to go, how it's going to function. Because if it really is, Natlan characters are necessary to use Mavuika, at least at her potential. Because, I mean, a lot of the teams that Raiden is on, you don't end up maxing out her, actual energy here without her C1. I'm gonna be honest. If you're not running certain characters that have high energy costs, you're not maxing out Raiden's ring. That is something that Raiden has, but it's also something that we can rely on other characters to constantly buff. However, now with the Pyro Archon, it's not like you can throw Risley on there and be like, oh, he's gonna recover all that stuff. And I mean, they have said you will get points for doing normal attacks. That is good. It's a lot of confidence that they really showed that and didn't see that thing go up once. I'm gonna be honest. It definitely went up. I'll try and maybe record the clip of it where they're like, oh yeah, it'll go up with normal attacks. If you look at when it's going up with normal attacks versus when it's going up with a Natlan character, clearly normal attacks do not raise that bar a lot. I'm gonna be honest. It's very clear that the bar does not get raised up a lot. So I think even a normal attacking main DPS isn't really going to do much. I mean, it was a very small window that they showed of the normal attacks, but I don't really think... I think you're probably best off, using a Natlan character along with the Pyro Archon, and the only free Natlan character is Kachina. The reason I record this now is because I was at least very much so assuming it's going to be pure power creep. I'm going to be able to recommend everyone summon for Pyro Archon over Arlecchino. That may not be the case anymore, because there are very much so people who have saved for the Pyro Archon who are now left with nothing They have nothing. They're going to be left with this subpar Pyro Archon because they were the ones most dedicated to getting her. Now, you know, we do have Sealolly in the same update, so I recommend, honestly, if you really do not have a single other Natlan character, summon for Sealolly, because you will be left with a not unfunctional, but like a very, you know, nerfed version of what the Pyro Archon can be without a proper Natlan character to drain their Nightsoul points. And Kachina just is not that kind of character. She just doesn't do that. And, you know, maybe the Traveler, right? Let's say you can combine Sealolly with, like, the Pyro Traveler or something, right? You could do something like that. I don't know if the Pyro Traveler has a Nightsoul gimmick. They didn't really reveal that, I'm pretty sure. I think they go into a Nightsoul Blessing state. But when they were doing normal attacks and they were, like, shooting that way, it felt weird. Whatever. What I'm saying is, it absolutely, you know, if you don't have Natlan characters, I can't recommend this character summonable. Like, I just can't. Because it's very clear that, yo, you need the Natlan characters to make her function, right? And it's very possible that, you know, Shielonen is even worse for her than, like, Sealolly, because Sealolly could have, like, 100 Nightsoul point limit, right? And maybe that recovers the entire thing or something. I don't know. She will... I think Mavuika will decrease her own Nightsoul points, and she will get the buff from that, but I don't think that I can really, like, look at that, like, this doesn't give me hope, I'm gonna be honest. Like, this, you know, 90 points, you know, 60, you lose 50% of the points, right? Or, like, 50% of 60, right? You gain 50% Nightsoul points if you go to Shielonen, but, you know, like, I don't know if I can recommend people summon for Pyro Archon. And then it's like, well, if the person needs a Pyro DPS, do I then recommend them summon for Arlecchino, or do I tell them to wait? Like, who knows? Like, you would have to still wait and summon for Shielonen, and then also summon for Sealolly, maybe, possibly. I don't know. We'll have to see what other supports may come out. I mean, they did this whole, you know, character list here for a reason, right? This is here for a reason, right? I would look at this character list right here and say that most of these characters, like, I would hope that most of them are supports at this point. Otherwise, Pyro Archon isn't really going to be looking crazy because she needs options. It's not as bad as when I was thinking Furina was bad, right? When Furina initially dropped, I was like, this character is so mid. She's like the worst Archon on release, where I don't think that's necessarily true. Probably Zhongli was still the worst, but Furina was limited because she had a awful mechanic of, you know, draining your character's HP, and in order to properly reach max fanfare, you needed a actual, like, full team-wide healer, which was cool, but they didn't support her with that until, like, Senyun. And then even then, Senyun was the only other team-wide healer that seriously came out and was like, oh yeah, this is gonna help Furina, right? Charlotte also did help out a little bit for, like, Risley teams, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I'm not a fan of, like, this, if I'm being honest. I was not a fan of this. I'm now grown to like it a lot more, because now I've realized Furina's just still good. Even, you know, C1, give her, you know, 37% damage bonus immediately. And then you also got her off-field damage on top of that. Like, Furina doesn't need to have her damage bonus fully maxed out to be a really good character. Whereas, you know, the Pyro Archon, she's a main DPS. She's gonna want that damage, I'm gonna be honest. Because the thing is, if the Pyro Archon is head and shoulders better than Arlecchino with her, you know, maxed out Nightsoul points, it's good, but at the same time, it's bad, because we don't need a character who's head and shoulders above Arlecchino. It's tough. I've been going back and forth between, I want the Pyro Archon to blow Arlecchino out of the water, so it's just never even a competition, so that way I can easily say, alright, Arlecchino, I'm sorry, there's no argument to be made here. You know, you're just worse, so that way it's not, you know, that bad, right? I don't have to constantly go back and forth whether, like, maybe Arlecchino might be better in this situation or something. Honestly, the way that it's looking, like, it's seeming like Pyro Archon could possibly only be better than Arlecchino if she has the proper supports. And by proper supports, I mean literally the 5-star character that's coming out with her. That's an issue. That's an issue. Maybe down the line, you know, obviously I like comparing characters, you know, with best teams no matter what, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, if I tell someone, oh yeah, who's better, Pyro Archon or Arlecchino, I'm probably going to end up saying Pyro Archon once the character releases. But right now, it's seeming very much so like, well, the Pyro Archon, you know, if you have these Natlan characters, then yeah, she's better. But, you know, if you don't, then, well, Arlecchino. It's simple as that. I think this is the first time we've needed to have like other 5-star characters specifically for the Archon. I don't think there was ever a time where like, oh, Zhongli needs this specific 5-star. Oh, Venti needs this specific 5-star. Raiden needs this specific 5-star. No, not really. I'm going to be honest. Kazuha was very much appreciated for Raiden, but it didn't like make her not function, right? You could still use other options, right? If you're running C6 Kujosara, C5 Bennett or whatever, and then you can go ahead and run Shangling at the same time. Like, you could have done that. You could have run National. You could have done that. You know, like, I don't know. So yeah, I am very concerned for what the Pyro Archon may lack. I'll say that. We'll see. Maybe her constellations, maybe like C1 makes it non an issue, right? Maybe that's what happens. And then it becomes an argument of, oh, well, her C1's like really good, so might as well just factor that in, because I already compare characters with their C1 or their R1. For those of you wondering, because I've had so many people ask me about it, it's C1 Arlecchino all the time. It's always better than her weapon, right? I do have her weapon, but C1 is always better. So yeah, something that I just want to discuss. Maybe, hey, like, this is just more of me worrying about what could happen with the Pyro Archon, because I like the Pyro Archon. I do. I like the lore. I like all the stuff. I like it. I'm worried that I'm not going to like her gameplay, and I'm also worried that she's going to be locked behind Natlan characters, which isn't going to be a problem for me, but it certainly will be a problem for other people and people accepting her as number 1 possibly. So feel free in the comments to, let me know your, worries, fears, or something. We'll talk about the Pyro Archon. We'll see, what theories we cook up come true, what theories don't come true. And, if you like my content a lot, then you can become a member. But if you don't like it that much, then you can go ahead and like the video. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe. Goodbye.